When you gonna show me how to get this money, man?
I'm still in a rush. I need to meet a client, man. But I've got something for you still.
Yeah, what's this?
It's got everything you need to know, man.
Hey, yo, make sure you log on and go and get the Hustlers Oldie book as well, man. So you can learn how to get it in like my brother S, you get me? And my brother Malone, you get me? So yeah, we was getting into what Indigo is proposing and what they're offering. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what different categories of service are you providing?
Okay, so for the consumer, you've got music, drama, comedy, sports commentary, and news, current affairs, and then lifestyle. So lifestyle might be gaming, it might be health, it might be a number of things that all fit around lifestyle, including fashion. For the creatives, you are a generation that nobody's listening to. The tagline of Indigo On Demand is demand to be heard, because you don't have a voice. You're spoken about, you're criminalized. And what I said about in the beginning, about the young lady who was shooting the video for Pasa Pasa to attack another young lady, is their current media outlet. So when you look at that, it's a flood. Have you ever seen a river without banks? It doesn't exist. It's called a flood. A flood is no good to anybody because everybody drowned. And if you're in any doubt, go and look at the bodies of the drowned just this year. It doesn't work. So you have to start to put parameters in place for control. And you give that control to the peers who are responsible. And you enable them to create the entertainment that young people are supposed to see. Created by them, guided by experience, for them to enjoy. So yes, they're gonna be educated. Yes, they're gonna be entertained. Yes, they're gonna be provoked into debate, but it's healthy and it's appropriate for young people, because we've got this mix up in terms of ages. Like if you come in at 1 o'clock in the morning and me and my peers are drinking rum and you wanna roll up under my armpit as my child and watch TV, no sir. The conversations we're having aren't appropriate for you. The fact that we're drinking and speaking how we're speaking as peers isn't appropriate for you because you don't have the life experience to process it. At some point, you got to strip back what isn't working, agree that it's a nonsense and do something about it. And then you start to build teams of those who are actually going to execute what is necessary to be done. And we've got the appetite for it right now. Remember, our experts, so first of all, you won't say black writers are in the BBC, Channel 4, motion graphics, editors, production managers, directors, head of creative, across every single channel and platform, but experiencing stifling of their careers, very tight parameters for their thinking, and then the cherry on the cake, racism, which is always going to come up at some stage.
So who is Indigo made for and by?
Well, Indigo On Demand, as it comes to play out, will actually come to represent not just African Caribbean people, but all people in as much as we are presented within European-owned platforms, you understand? Is made for young people as an audience. So if you were to ask Skepta, who do you make music for? He say, I make music for my fans. And they're all going to experience it, right? Mm-hmm. Now he's going to say whatever he's going to say for an audience of whoever his fan base is. And that allows him to capitalize on it. So that's exactly what Indigo On Demand is. We are telling stories and the fan base is the fan base. And when I say mainstream, I talk about in the caliber of delivery. So if we're creating with the latest 4K equipment that is broadcast and we're using prime lens to shoot great photography and then telling fantastic stories, everybody's interested in that. It's universal. The fact that Black Panther made $1 billion is testimony to that. Let's not pretend that our stories, as Yiddish studio owners have said, are very limited. Now, I went down to something in 2005.
You said our stories are very limited.
Well, that's been the narrative of studio heads for decades.
But of the stories about us that's being produced and
By
broadcast to the
us.
masses.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So they say
by
they're
us.
limited in
Okay.
their commercial ability to recoup the investment.
Okay.
But we know that's a fallacy. So unfortunately, our uncle, John Singleton, passed from a stroke this year. God bless the dead. He was an unofficial mentor to me because I didn't have access to him. But I used to track all of the deals that were being done when I was 17 years old. I would get Hollywood Reporter. I would get Screen International. I knew that he was 23 years old, that he made a $6 million movie that recouped $52 million immediately at the box office.
Yeah.
That's a win for a directional debut. So then Hollywood was on a plate for him. So and it happened that was in 1991, where you had Jungle Fever.
What was his first, what was it, Boys in the Hood?
Boys in the Hood was his debut film.
That's the one, in that one, they talk about the gentrification as well.
Absolutely.
That scene there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There's some critical information in there.
Were you telling any other story than our story? And it happened to be universally loved and a classic. So in the same year, you had Juice. You had, this is 1991.
Yeah.
So you had a mountain of films that came out that happened to be produced by black writer-director teams and were highly successful commercially. New Jack City as well. I think New Jack City was 60 odd million box office.
Yeah. How much to produce?
It evades me, so I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
Spike Lee's first film, Nola Darling, cost $200,000 to produce and made $8 million.
Yeah.
And that was a black and white film about a young lady who had multiple partners. And it was very black. So let's not keep repeating the fallacy that our stories aren't universal when we know that they are, like our music is universal, like our style and our fashion is universal. The fear is that we're going to come to influence other people's children.
But what's going to be in Indigo's way in terms of taking the idea from idea to reality? What do you think is going to be standing in your way?
This is merely economics and there are no barriers. You see, we have parity based on the fact that we can do anything we like. I can speak with my peers to invest, as I'm selling shares in Indigo right now, at an early stage for something which is pure growth. So there are no barriers to access anymore. And we've got to stop speaking like there are barriers to access. And we've got to start doing. I don't speak to lay people if I want to set up a proposition as an ongoing concern. So I'm not going to go on Facebook to recruit people to be working within Indigo. I use LinkedIn for that. So as anyone that I've joined recently would have seen, writers, directors, producers, production managers, head of creative, motion graphics, editors, colorists, you name them throughout the industry, live events management. So part of the musical aspect is that we'll be putting on the concerts that are live on demand. Now, we'd have a sponsor for the whole concert roster for the year and deliver X amount of concerts for that sponsor. But to the young people, that is the only monetizable component of Indigo, and it's £1. So you're talking about the premier artists that we can pay a substantial advance, and then they'll have a revenue stream of that £1 on demand. So because it's £1, there's no barriers to access. And one of the components I haven't spoken about publicly is the crypto wallet that is on Indigo. So even Kenya is vastly decades ahead of us with the Pesa, where you hold a mobile phone 4 inches apart and you can transfer money to each other. So Indigo has that component, which is the digital wallet. So when I say demand to be heard, it gives you particular freedoms as young people to have financial literacy and control your economic destiny as well.
You was talking about competing for influence like the influencers competing for influence?
I didn't say that we're competing for influence. I said the fear
The
of
fear
Europeans,
Yeah.
based on their racism, is that we will have an overwhelming influence because we are influencers and we make shit hot.
Yeah.
Which is why hip hop went from Public Enemy to nonsense.
Yeah. So how independent is Indigo On Demand gonna be in terms of how it's gonna be distributed from user to the end user? Because I say that because like a lot of the social media platforms have recently been deplatforming people. Now the people that they've been deplatforming, it's not that they've got. Well, I think they even took off Farrakhan recently as well. Still.
Absolutely, they did. They banned Farrakhan because of he's pointing out factually of state-sponsored murders by police, which are legal in the United States of America, which means that there is an African-American assassination program. It was legal to assassinate Jews in Germany at one stage in history. So we cannot talk about the legality being correct or ethical. So when somebody points that out, it's a problem.
But not only Farrakhan, people from like all different sides of the political spectrum, you get me, have been getting deplatformed because, like you're saying, the fear of the influence that they're having, like they got large followings, you get me?
Yeah.
So what is, like, it seems like your intention is to be influenced. I won't say that's your intention, but it's going to be inevitable that you're going to have a lot of influence
absolutely
from you get released to the public. So
just as Sky is influential,
yeah,
just as CNN is influential,
so
just
how,
as ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5.
How independent is Indigo On Demand going to be? And if it's going to be in partnership with anyone or any other platform, are they going to share the same values in terms of wanting to see the type of changes in society that you want to see come about as Indigo On Demand?
Well, the first thing, we got to stop talking about the permissions of others, because it merely comes down to the values of the board and then the writers, directors and producers that we're working with. So if you're producing a studio-based show and there's debate, healthy debate will be had. We're not crazy people, it's not World Star, so it's going to be appropriate. What society deems fit to do today is to control the debate. I don't believe it's ethical to control the debate. I believe that the debate should be free. Now, when we're talking about people uploading content, Indigo isn't a YouTube. Indigo is a TV platform, just like a Netflix, where shows are going to be commissioned. So you're going to have guidelines that we create for people speaking responsibly. So they're not going to be any kind of Jerry Springer activity, because we're dealing with young people. And in dealing with young people, you have a huge responsibility to work in an ethical way. However, in terms of challenging and provoking them and creating debate, that is open.
So young people is the target audience.
Absolutely.
Is it the only audience that you will be catering to though?
I highly doubt whether young people will be the only people watching Indigo On Demand. So as I said, the cut-off permissions will be 12 to 15, 15 to 18, and then 18 plus. So in that 18 plus, you're going to have intelligent programs and dramas that I'm sure a mainstream audience will want to watch, but they're centered towards younger stories. So they're going to be centered around that Generation X and then evolving into young millennials as well. So those are universal stories and they're interesting to everybody. You got grown men to watch cartoons, so God bless.
From your
Yeah?
Come on, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC.
So when we start to talk about stuff that promotes violence in a time where our young people are being murdered and being influenced by that kind of music, that's not going to fit our roster. But the funny thing is, because we're monetizing the content, I don't know how